everybody, and welcome to a Deck Tech on the Constructive Criticism YouTube channel. I'm Spencer. I'm a host of Constructive Criticism, and I'm a producer across the network. Today, I'm excited to talk to you about Grixis Control in Standard. It's a really fun deck that I've been playing the last couple days, and I'm excited to talk to you about kind of what the deck is doing, some of the changes that I've made to the deck, and yeah, what's going on. With that being said, let's get into the deck. So, before I do that, some people requested that I actually do my deck text in MTGO rather than having a picture or having the cards floating through. They actually wanted me to kind of manipulate the cards, and so I was going to try it this way. Yeah, and we'll see if people like it this way. So the first thing that we have is one Fungal Infection. The Fungal Infection is just to make your deck a little bit faster. You want some number of 1-mana interaction. You actually have another one over here on the sideboard, just to make sure that you can beat some of the aggro decks that people are playing. It's not amazing, but it does kill 2 toughness creatures for 1 mana, just like a shock would. It only does that in combat. However, I have gotten a couple of 2-for-1s from this in some of the green decks by killing something like their Land of War Elves and then blocking something like a Merfolk, the 2-1 that explores. So it certainly has its applications. I kind of wish the mana was a little bit better so that I could play 2 Shivan Fires. If I could just play 2 Shivan Fires in the main deck, I would actually be significantly happier. But this is where we're at right now. The next thing that we have that's really important is the 3 Syncopates. Syncopate is just one of the best cards in Standard right now, I think. So that might sound like an exaggeration, but because everybody can play so many, because people can curve out so well because of their mana, unless they're unlucky and they draw a bunch of check lands, all their lands come into play untapped basically the entire game. And because of that, Syncopate gets a lot better because people use their mana a lot, or they don't take damage from their shock land and then you get them. So it's just been insane. It exiling things in things like Golgari has been super powerful, things like that. We have 1 Blink of an Eye. We have 2 Essence Scatters. So the Blink of an Eye is kind of just a catch-all. I'm not sure if it's actually very good. It's entirely possible that, like, if I could play Shivan Fire, this would just become that. But, I've bounced tons of things, my own creatures. Bouncing my own Nicol Bolas, just getting to draw the extra card has been pretty good. We have 2 Search for Azcanta, getting us card advantage throughout the game. One of the cool things about Search for Azcanta is that you don't need to worry about, playing too many Notion Rains or Chemister's Insights because eventually you're going to be able to go off with Search for Azcanta because of the texture of your deck. We have 1 Negate and 2 Cast Downs. The version that I started with was Andrew Jeff's version that took second at the SCG Classic. One of the problems that I was having with Jeff's deck is that it wasn't very good at beating Stompy decks. In fact, it was actually quite bad at it outside of countering their stuff. It really required you to have an Essence Scatter or you were probably going to lose. Cast Down fixes a lot of that. It gives you a cheaper answer to things like Norox, the Hide guy, the Hexproof guy. That being said, I think that deck isn't amazing, so if that deck goes down, it's entirely possible you don't want to play Cast Downs, especially because it doesn't kill things like Lyra and stuff like that. But I do have the 1 Moment of Craving still. This is just kind of buffer your life total, kill some of the stuff that you don't want to deal with. I still have 2 Thought Erasures. This card has been interesting. I think you want some number of these in your main deck. The version that I started with had 4, and it was just too many, to be honest. Like, you would top deck them so often when they did nothing due to some of the other things that you were doing in your deck that like Nicol Bolas, Eldest Reborn, stuff like that, it really wasn't worth it to play that many of them. We have 2 Sinister Sabotage, kind of as the last of our counter spells. They're pretty good. The Surveil is really powerful. 2 Notion Rain. These cards are another one where the Surveil gets pretty good. It's significantly better than Scry in this deck, and you're pretty happy to just play a couple of them. Compared to something like Read the Bones. Chemister's Insight is one that's surprising. This card's actually way better than I expected when I started playing this format. I played it in Blue-Eye Control and now in Grixis Control, and honestly, it's just a good, powerful magic card. Kind of similar to Glimmer of Genius in power level, but it draws you more raw cards, so it can be really good in a deck with tons of Surveil, and I like this one. Ritual of Soot, we have a 3 of. Ritual of Soot's a new card that destroys all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less. Sometimes this deck heavily leans on this card. I don't think it's that bad to 1-for-1 stuff if the creature is big enough. Overall, pretty happy with Ritual of Soot. We have 3 Vraska's Contempt in the main. Vraska's Contempt being one of our probably the best cards in our deck. Exiling is really powerful in this format, just like before. We have 3 Nicol Bolas the Ravager. This is the main way that you win with this deck is you grind them out and then eventually flip one of your Nicol Bolas, and usually they either concede the game or you're going to have a lot of fun. We have 2 Eldest Reborn. This is probably, in my opinion, the other one of the best cards in the standard right now. Whether you're playing black green, whether you're playing Grixis, whether you're playing blue black, Eldest Reborn has just been insane for me recently. Really fun card to play with. Tons of interactions, getting to interact with your opponent's graveyard, getting to interact with your opponent on multiple turns, things like that. Dream Eater, there's another one that's impressed me. Yeah, I was not prepared for Dream Eater to be as cool and as good as it is. The Surveil 4 is just a lot. It's a lot of Surveil. I 100% yesterday, I cast this Surveil 4, just binned 4 lands, drew a spell, and I was like, man, that felt like drawing all 4 of those lands. Like, that was really powerful, and I've been really happy with it. It's a great thing to deal with other Mizzets, things like that, and then you can flash this in, bounce it to their hand, play something like an Eldest Reborn to make, or Nicol Bolas to make them discard it, or Thought Erasure it out of their hand. So it's pretty good. For the land base, we have 8 blue-black lands, we have 6 blue-red lands, and 4 black-red lands. We have 6 swamps and 2 islands. Our total number of shock lands is the full 8, and then we're playing a total of 10 of the check lands. Honestly, I didn't have any problems with Andrew Jacobs' mana base, so I didn't want to change it too much. There were not things that I would consider changing except for maybe playing more red lands, but the fact that the red splash is just so light in Nicol Bolas really means that you don't really have to play that many red sources, and I have double red all the time still. Here in the sideboard, if we go over that really quick, we've got 2 Negates, 3 Disdainful Strokes, 1 more Fungal Infection, 1 more Vraska's Contempt, 2 Golden Demise, 1 Arguel's Bloodfast, 3 Thief of Sanity, and 2 Thought Erasure. So the Thief of Sanity let you kind of turn into a mid-range deck against control a little bit. It's been really good. I've boarded it in against a couple of other decks too. The card's super powerful. I actually don't hate it against Golgari that much on the play. And honestly, Disdainful Stroke is a huge get for this deck. I think that being able to just counter big things, especially in something like the green-black decks, it counters most of the things that you really care about. So having a ton of 2-mana answers to the rest of your opponent's deck has been really good. You get to beat them out on mana pretty often, so you can double spell casting a Notion Rain or a Chemister's Insight Flashback or whatever. And then having 4 Thought Erasure in the 75, I actually have liked a lot. While I didn't like them in the main deck, there are certainly times where you definitely want all 4, where games are going to go long, people are going to have lots of cards in their hand throughout most of the game, and at those times Thought Erasure is really good. Golden Demise, I haven't boarded in yet. I haven't played against too much of the red deck, to be honest with you, with this deck. That's what it's for. I think that it's quite good. I think that also the number of tokens decks that are going around right now, makes Golden Demise even a little bit better. So one of the things that this deck could have trouble with is obviously things like enchantments and things like that. That's another reason to play that one of blink of an eye. Make sure you have the right number of negates in your 75 and things like that. Other than that, you're going to deal with that by making them discard cards. You'll notice I don't have a Duress. I don't have a Sorcerer's Spyglass. I think that you just want to deal with things as they come, but it's entirely possible you want some more flexible cards like that somewhere in your 75. Maybe you cut a Disdainful Stroke and something else. Maybe you don't need that last Contempt, things like that. And yeah, the deck's super fun. Like I said, the red splash is super light. When you look at the cards that you're playing, the numbers in Justice List, some of them made a lot of sense. If I was going to change anything in this, I would consider adding a Rel to the deck. I think that that 5-mana Planeswalker slot, it just gives you a versatility of threats. You could ultimate that card a lot, get a ton of value through just drawing an extra card every turn, things like that. Similar to what your Search for Azcanta do, but just doing it all at once through raw cards instead of card selection. So that's it for Grixis Control today. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to patreon.com/ccmtg, become a patron of that podcast. You can check out the rest of it at constructivecriticism.com. Go find out what they're doing. Tons of different shows. I'm helping with most of them. So thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you guys all next week with another deck.